Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, what do we got going on this week?
Oh, we got a lot. We got a lot of stuff that's on the agenda. Couple highs for some teams, couple lows. Probably a few teams we're going to make fun of. Some teams we're going to praise. We got a lot to talk about here.
Absolutely. There's a lot of teams doing really well and really bad right now for a number of reasons.
Where do we want to start? Do we want to start on the highs or the lows?
If you don't mind, I'll start with a high real quick. I guess it's a low for somebody. But Vasilevsky is back. He's been back for almost a week now. And his first game back, the Lightning beat the Hurricanes 8-2.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget. This was a 3-2 game going into the third period. But beyond the score, the real story was the shots on goal. Tampa won 8-2 with only 14 shots on net.
And the funny thing is Carolina tweeted out after, because Carolina loves to just throw whatever shit they want on Twitter.
They've got pretty decent Twitter game.
But they got ripped hard because they tweeted after the first period saying we have as many goals as Tampa Bay has shots.
Yeah,
and then Carolina just got throttled after that.
Yeah. So it used to be a tie for the team with the whatever you want to call it, one team having the best shooting percentage versus the other team having the worst save percentage, both being at 50 or 500. There have been two times in NHL history. Once was Detroit in 91, once was Minnesota in 84, back when they were the North Stars, where those teams had a 50% shooting percentage. Tampa Bay beat that with a 57% shooting percentage.
Yeah.
Ranta took a beating that game. And honestly, he did not play that horribly. 5 of our 8 goals are freaking nasty. Just snipes, cross crease one-timers.
It's funny because I was literally talking to someone earlier today about Carolina. At this point in the season, if you had to list out, say your top, I would say probably top 10 contenders for the Stanley Cup, I don't even have Carolina even smelling that list.
Yeah, they've been weirdly not great so far.
But the thing with them is very similar to Edmonton. They have zero goaltending.
Yeah.
Absolute awful. And it's not even like Edmonton where you can be like, oh, the defense are terrible forwards and helping out. They're allowing the least amount of shots out of any team in the league. They're averaging only 25.3 shots against per game, but they're allowing 3.24 against per game. Their goalies just aren't getting it done between all three of their goalies. Ranta, how do you pronounce it?
Kochetkov
and Anderson. All of them have played at least 6 games. They've all got below 900 save percentages. Their goalies just aren't getting it done right now. And until they can figure that situation out, I don't think they're really a legit contender right now.
Yeah, it's tough to watch because like I said, we won 8-2. It's easy to say we stomped them. They held us to 14 shots in a game. They played a good game.
And then even tonight they lost to the Islanders 5-4 and in overtime, and they outshot the Islanders 43-16.
They held them to 16 shots and
that's the Islanders.
Did they let in 5?
5.
Yeah.
You let the Islanders score 5 goals on 16 shots. A team that's usually winning lower scoring games.
Yeah.
It's not going well for them.
To shake that reputation a bit with being a year or two removed from Barry Trotz being their coach, but
they're slowly getting out of that. But
they are still a bit of a defensive team, but their offense is clearly coming out of their shell a bit more. Barzell's doing better.
Yeah, Barzell is doing much better. Him and Bo Horvat are getting that that chemistry back that we kind of saw at the kind of beginning of last year, when Bo was traded there. And honestly, even speaking of Bo Horvat and the Canucks, we got some Canucks news to talk about here now.
Yeah, we do. Before we move on, I just want to shout out Kucherov's 6-point night on that 8-2 victory, but he was on the ice for all 8 of those goals, which is wild.
Yeah, that team is like the Lightning are really. I mean, he's their guy. Like he's good. They've got other good players, but it's like that when you think of the Tampa Bay Lightning now, like it's Kucherov and Cass. Like, and that's not to say Braden Point's not good, Stamkos and Hedman, but it's like they live by Kucherov, they die by him. Like he's that core right at him.
Those guys could step up if they had to, but none of them have to be the guy who sets up all the plays because it just comes so naturally to him. It's so fun to watch him on the ice.
Yeah.
But yeah, do we want to move into the Vancouver news?
Yeah, let's do it. Which, I mean, I guess start with the first one. Anthony Beauvillier was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks for a 5th round pick. I believe it's a 2023 5th. Oh, yes. Yeah, it is. Because that 5th was then used in the trade today where they traded a 5th and then a 2026 3rd to the Calgary Flames for Nikita Zadorov. And funny enough, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know exactly what the plan is with Zadorov. If he, like, I know if the Canucks played tonight in Vancouver against Vegas, obviously Zadorov didn't play in that. And the Canucks' next game is on Saturday in Calgary, so that'll be Zadorov's first game with the Canucks. It'll be in Calgary. Man. So I'm not sure if he's even flying out to Vancouver to join the team, or if he's just staying in Calgary. And it's like,
as well just stay here, right?
When. Yeah, like I'm assuming. Well, obviously the Canucks will be flying out to Calgary tomorrow, so I think it's just kick your feet up at home and join us when we get there type of thing.
They couldn't have waited 2 days to make that trade.
Zadorov trade though for Vancouver.
Absolutely. I mean, they gave up almost nothing. Very few 5th rounders become NHL players, and even less become great NHL players. 3rd rounders are a bit better, but like even 3rd and 2nds are pretty inconsistent. So
yeah,
like you're not giving up much for a guy that you know can be a serviceable NHL defenseman. Was that the same 5th that they got from Chicago, or did they give them their 5th? Okay.
Yeah. And so I don't like to, like, I'm not going to include Zadorov as a part of this because there's a whole additional 3rd round pick, which is obviously the big centerpiece for Calgary in this trade that they got. When you look at it now with Beauvillier traded, the Canucks essentially traded Bo Horvat for Philip Hronek. And then you can include Ratu in there. He's doing all right in the AHL, but I think he's struggling to make the Canucks team at this point. But now when you look at it, like Beauvillier's gone, they flipped that first for Hronek. So you basically kind of for the Canucks, you traded Bo Horvat for Philip Hronek and Ratu now is what that trade looks like. So really, I guess that's looking like a pretty fair deal still for both teams, I think. Because
it looks pretty good for Vancouver, if I'm honest. I mean, Horvat's great, but Hronek's been on fire this year.
It's just a win-win trade for both teams. Like Bo Horvat's doing exactly what he's supposed to do with the Islanders. Like he's got 16 points in 21 games. I mean, great defensively. Like he's also got that to his game. And then like Philip Hronek going to the Canucks. Like he's
great piece beside Quinn Hughes.
He's been and that's exactly that was the piece that they needed. That guy that they could put beside Quinn Hughes and can allow Hughes to reach that next level. So, it's kind of interesting though that Beauvillier didn't get more of a chance with the Canucks. I felt like he came in last year and looked really good, and then to start the season, he just never really was given that same chance that he got last year. They kind of already seemed to have their minds made up of like, you're not part of our, group moving forward. So it almost seemed like they were just kind of waiting for the opportunity to trade him. And obviously, with Corey Perry now no longer with the Blackhawks, you saw the perfect opportunity to ship him off to the Blackhawks and get a fifth back that they could use to flip for part of their package for Zadorov.
Yeah. On that note, with Chicago, do we want to jump into the Corey Perry news?
I just want to go back to quickly just to the Zadorov thing. So what I found really weird is I've for quite a while now watching Flames games, like the broadcasting is always like talking about how good Zadorov is, how much he means to this team, like all these great things about him. The moment he's traded, complete switch up for them. Like they act like he's nothing. They were saying like, oh, I don't think this deal is as bad for the Flames as people think. Like Zadorov's a bottom pairing defenseman. That's all he is. His cap hit isn't great and all this. I'm like,
yeah,
fuck, he just got traded and they're immediately acting like he wasn't this great defenseman for them for the last couple years that really kind of reached a new level offensively, but was still a beast in his own end and a big body that wasn't afraid to block shots, hit, fight. Like he kind of did it all. So it was just very weird to see how quickly they switched on him now that he was no longer part of the team.
Yeah, it always sucks when you hear guys on the announce team being like, whenever they talk about a guy, they're like, this guy is a heart and soul guy, leaves it all on the ice every shift, and then they'll get traded and they'll be like, I just wasn't working out here. The team just had to move on and stuff like that. And it's like,
yeah,
I'm glad that I've never heard that said about any players Tampa's traded. Pretty much every time it ever gets brought up over the past few years, we play Calgary and they talk about Coleman, Seattle, Gord, Corey Perry in Chicago. Happened just the other day with Ross Colton in Colorado. The announcers are always just like, I mean, it's the salary cap. They wanted to keep him and they couldn't. And
yeah,
as a fan, that's really all I want to hear because that's just the truth of it. But because nobody wants to hear that they didn't want him anymore, and then you're sitting there in your jersey with their name on it, and you're like, well, that fucking sucks, huh?
Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, with that, I mean, we'll go to Chicago. Obviously, gotta discuss the Corey Perry situation that's unfolded there. I don't even know where we're at in the whole saga of it. Like, I think the Blackhawks are just a messy organization through and through. Yeah.
Did you see Corey Perry's public statement today?
I did. I don't see why he had to, honestly, because as far as we don't know what he did. So I feel like he's basically just apologizing, just because as far we don't know what he did. And obviously, we know all those rumors that are flying around about Badarna's family. We know that's not true. That was obviously never would happen. We know it sounds.
Do you mind if I just lay out some of the info we do know on this?
Yeah, as far as I know, it just involved a staff member.
Yeah. So what has been said by both the camps of Corey Perry and the Blackhawks organization is that it was not an NHL rule. It was a organization-specific workplace. I don't know if it was a rule or just they decided they didn't like it, but they said whatever he did was non-criminal, so that's good. It didn't include any of the players or their families in any capacity. And Corey Perry has entered the NHL. Actually, I don't know if he did enter the Players Assistance Program, but he said he is talking to professionals, which is interesting that he didn't join the leagues, but he's talking to professionals and getting help for
we'll get into
alcohol abuse.
We'll get into the leagues thing at one point after this, their whole Player Assistance Program.
Yeah,
but
he
the thing I feel about it is so first of all, if say it was one of their younger, better prospects who did the exact same thing Corey Perry did, I don't feel like the Blackhawks get rid of him. I feel like it's because Perry's like near the end of his career and whatnot. They
He's
felt like they can
expendable.
just do it.
He's on a
Exactly.
1-year, $4 million
And
deal.
is this now going to set a precedent in the league where you've got a guy and it's like, hey, we didn't like what you did, we're just going to terminate your contract? Like it's he didn't do anything that goes against, like, it wasn't illegal. It didn't go against NHL set guidelines or anything. It was just something the Blackhawks didn't like. And I don't feel like that should be enough to, again, we don't know what he did, but the Blackhawks are not being transparent and not putting out what is there. Again, I don't know if that's, they're not allowed to, but again, if it's not criminal, I think
I imagine
there's
they
nothing
don't want it out
stopping them.
just as much as Corey Perry probably doesn't want it out there. Like, I think Perry's probably happy with it staying at us speculating and it just being a drunken mishap and not knowing the very specific.
No team will sign him if they don't know the specifics. Like, that's probably the end of his.
I mean,
career.
if it wasn't, why wouldn't you? If it's non-criminal, and of course, if he's willing to sign and has gone out of his rehab or whatever he's doing to improve, if you can get him for $800K right before the playoffs, like, why wouldn't you?
I just don't think teams will take that risk now, having that unknown of what he may or may not have done. I just don't think in this day and age teams are willing to take that risk.
After some of the things I've seen, I think you might be giving a couple of the teams too much credit. I mean, who is the guy that Boston signed and then had to buy out the other year that everyone knew was going to be a problem?
That's the thing, though. Like, I think now that once they saw that backlash and the other teams saw it, I think teams are now being like, we got to be fully paying attention to what we're doing and knowing what the outcomes may be. And I think that's, again, it's just, I feel like that's just the way it goes now. And it's going to be interesting to see now, like, are more teams going to take that approach of just being like, we don't like what you did. It's not illegal. It's not against what the NHL stands for or anything, but we didn't like it. So see you later.
It is important to note that teams can't just terminate a contract. That's not how it works. It has to be not only mutual on both sides, but also the player has the players union behind them. Yeah. And so the Corey Perry currently, he either has 60 or 59 days left to file a grievance with his thing. So even if, obviously he's probably not going to try and not only fight it, but like get back into the lineup. Like, obviously he would be a scratch or something if it did get upheld. But, we're about a quarter of the way through the season. It's a $4 million contract. If he feels it's unfair for them to completely void his contract and he wants to fight for that $3 million, I could see it happening.
Well, and that's why I think you're right when I think it's probably Corey Perry doesn't want it to come out what happened. I kind of think that's probably the biggest thing, is it's Corey Perry's more so like, you know what, I'll agree to have my contract terminated and, I won't file anything out. We'll just go our separate ways, but let's just not release what happened. Let's just kind of go our separate ways from here.
I'm wondering how bad it is. I'm wondering if it was just like a little bad, but like Chicago is just so afraid of any bad PR right now that they're just cutting them loose and not even taking the chance.
Well, and the thing is now is that because they're not going to, and their GM Kyle, I think it's Kyle Davidson.
Kyle Davis, yeah.
He said that
Kyle
they're
Davidson?
not going to. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. He said like we're not going to. He basically said like we're not going to say what happened, and then he discredited all those rumors about Bedard and his family. But it's like, if you're not telling us, those rumors are going to keep happening, and like it's already like, look now what's happened to their franchise player. Like McDavid didn't go through this shit in Edmonton. Crosby didn't go through this shit in Pittsburgh. Like Bedard hasn't even gotten 20 games into his rookie season, and he's already having this happen in Chicago. It's just like, it's just a bad look for the team. And again, a team that's so messy. Like it's just embarrassing for them as an NHL franchise. Probably, I can't even imagine how tough it is for Bedard and his family.
We can't hold it against him too much for the rumors going around because of Twitter trolls, right? Like, how many people out there actually genuinely believed that it had anything to do with Bedard's family? Like,
and that's the thing is, like, that's the world nowadays. It seems like there's a lot of people that are believing it because of all the fake stuff that's been made up to be like, oh, here's proof of it. And that's the tough part about today's day and age is Photoshop and all these other things that anything can be made to look real. So
yeah.
But again, that's just one of the things we talked about before. It's like Chicago or Bedard going to Chicago, like what's gonna happen? Like it didn't even take 20 games for a mess like this to happen. So
yeah, it'll be interesting. And I, for one, hope to see Corey Perry back in the NHL, and I do think he will be back at some point. It sounds like he's really not wanting to hang them up. So I hope he gets the help he needs in whatever form that is. And
you know what? Maybe if you know there's a team that's maybe interested in him, maybe he'll be comfortable just telling this team like, "Hey, I'll tell you what happened, and can we keep it between us?" And maybe that will allow a team to take a chance on him and bring him in. If it's like, we don't have to make it public what I did, but I'll tell you guys so you guys know, and then you guys can go from there and decide if you're willing to bring me in.
Yeah.
But he's not joining.
He's had a alcohol abuse problem for a while now, for several years. So I'm wondering if it's not something horrible, but just, kind of he reached a new low kind of thing. And he, maybe he's the one who went to the Blackhawks and was like, this is a problem. Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, he isn't joining he hasn't at least joined the players' assistance program. I feel like maybe it's a bit easier for him now that he doesn't have a contract. Like, I know we've I don't know how many people out there have listened to it, but former NHL goalie Scott Darling, he entered the players' assistance program and he fucking hates it.
Yeah.
He said, if you're ever going through this type of stuff, go and do it on your own. Don't go through there, because he says, and I don't know the exact words he used, but it was basically like they twist stuff on you. And then
he was very upset.
If you're a guy that's like on a bad contract, like they're going to try and find a way to, take you out of your contract and end it. Like, and he said it's the way that they handle it and the stuff they put the player through during it for their actual playing career. He said it's just not healthy. It's not right. So he strongly urges anyone to do it themselves and go to somewhere outside of the league.
I do think it's very important to note that is a very common sentiment in all circles similar to this. When people get sent to rehab, the whole point is you're taking away a lot of their freedoms to try and get them clean. And, some guys, they're not allowed access to certain things. A lot of the guys have their phones taken away for a long time. Yeah. And I know one thing Scott Darling was saying was that, it felt that he was like, it felt like they were threatening me with my contract. But in reality, I wonder if it was just those people working there going, listen, we legally cannot hold you hostage here. But if you leave this mandated player assistance program, like without doing the proper process, then that might void your contract. So it's a very tough situation because, it's America, right? It could be an entirely fucked up situation. He could have been in a really bad facility or something. Or he could just be looking back at it going, man, that felt like hell, but the people were just trying to help him. So it's really hard to know, which way.
I feel like if he had that mindset of that he was like, it's hell, their trauma, I don't feel like he would bash it as much as he did.
Yeah.
Like, I feel, and again, there's obviously a whole lot more to that situation. We don't exactly know what he went through there or any of that. let's move away from all that now. I hate talking about Chicago.
Yeah.
What do we got next in the lineup here?
If you want to find something else to bring up, I'll take about a minute just to talk about linesman Tyson Baker. If you have not seen the video yet, I definitely recommend you go YouTube it, search it out. That's linesman Tyson Baker dove to the ice to protect Dennis Gilbert's head at the end of a fight. It was a Calgary Flames versus, I want to say, Nashville.
Yeah, I believe so.
I know it was the Flames, and basically these two guys are fighting, and hockey fight. At the end, Gilbert's helmet is off, and he starts going down, and this linesman dives in and gets his hand under his head right before it hits the ice, and just great situational awareness. Like, he would have absolutely smashed his head off the ice, and that would have been really hard to watch if he didn't. So just stick taps for Tyson Baker out there. Yeah,
for sure. One thing I want to mention, because I think this is just hilarious for multiple reasons. If you're a Toronto fan, plug your ears. The Toronto Maple Leafs, ready for this? I know you're going to love this. The Toronto Maple Leafs have as many regulation wins this season as the San Jose Sharks, at 5 apiece, which is pretty tough. Like, that's tough for them. I mean, obviously the Maple Leafs, and it was funny because I actually tweeted that out.
Yeah.
And because someone was posted a thing about Toronto, and I was just like, don't let this distract you from the fact that the Maple Leafs have as many regulation wins as the Sharks. And then a Toronto fan replied and said, yeah, but where are they at in the standings? I'm like, you're just further proving my point. Like, the Maple Leafs have 27 points. The Sharks have 12, but the same amount of regulation wins. So, like, Toronto's having to win a lot of games in overtime and shootouts. And those are all very games that they could very easily could be the opposite and they lose. Like, it's not like the Leafs we've seen before where they're not only winning, but like they're dominating in some games.
The Leafs have been dominant for the past 3 or 4 years. We're not seeing that right now.
Yeah.
This is the weakest they've looked in a bit, for sure.
And then I just love seeing Toronto fans bitching and complaining right now. So obviously Patrick Kane signed with the Detroit Red Wings on a 1-year deal, just a little bit under $3 million. And it's so funny to see Leafs fans, like, they've already flipped on Ryan Reeves. Like, he's not very well liked by the fan base. And so many Leafs fans are saying, man, if we didn't sign Ryan Reeves, we would have had enough money to sign Kane. And imagine Kane on our roster. It's like, Kane didn't want to go to Toronto. Like, Toronto was literally the very first team that got crossed off the list.
Yeah, he's an American guy. He's always played in America. I can't imagine. Toronto does not look like a team that's poised to win the cup right now. I can't imagine he was going to say, I'm going to take my chances going to Canada and playing for this team that looks middling right now. That wasn't going to happen.
In taxes, like, they would have to give him like $1 million more than what Detroit gave him for the money to be even that he's getting. Yeah, but I always just find it so funny how any time there is a big name free agent or a guy available for trade, it's always like, oh, Toronto's going to get him. Yeah. Toronto
and Vegas are always in the mix for every free agent. And then
Leafs fans get all cranky when it doesn't happen. It's like, how you can't expect to get not everybody wants to go to Toronto. Like, at this point in Kane's career, why would he want to go to Toronto and have media shoved in his face all the time, have to deal with interviews after every practice and game and bus ride and whatnot? Like, where he could go to Detroit, where he wanted to be reunited with DeBrincat. He can, he's still going to have to face the media, but it's nowhere near as crazy as the Toronto media. And I think the Detroit Red Wings are as good of a team as the Leafs. Which is crazy to say, but on paper,
true right
Toronto
now.
should be better. But the Red Wings are, they each they're tied in points. Like, it's right there.
So Patrick Kane signs with the Red Wings. Daniel Sprong gives up his number 88 for Patrick Kane.
Yeah, classy move. He didn't have to do that, and I don't think Kane
Do you think he did?
made him.
Do you like? I bet he would have either way. But do you think it was his idea, or do you think before Yzerman even announced to the public that the deal happened, Yzerman called in and said, "Hey, you're going to give up 88 for this guy"?
No, I think that was all Sprong. We've seen it before with multiple players when they go there. Like,
oh yeah, plenty of players. This is not the first time it's happened.
No, but it's like sometimes you'll see it where I can't remember. I know there was one. I can't remember who it was, but it was like I think he gave him like a Rolex or something, or took him out to like the fanciest restaurant in town or something. It's like a thank you, kind of like a trade type of thing.
I think I think the Rolex is like the standard for the veteran coming in and he keeps his number and the young guy gets a Rolex. I feel like I've heard that a couple times.
Maybe that's what Kane will do, but I think it was Sprong's decision. Like, he probably grew up watching Kane dominate. As we all enjoyed watching Kane in his prime with Chicago. Like, as much as we didn't like Chicago, as like Kane's electric. So to be able to give him his 88 these worn throughout his career, it's like, I don't think he needed to be told to. I think that was just, and let's be real, Sprong's on a 1-year deal with Detroit. I don't know if he'll be there at the end of this season. He always seems to do good with the team, and then it's like, you outplayed your contract. We can't afford to give you more, so see you later. And then he just goes to the next team. It sounds like the Kraken
wanted to keep him last year, but they had to give a big raise to Vince Dunn, and that was that.
Yeah, so I mean, and so I don't think Sprong's torn up by it. Like, I think to be able to give Kane,
I don't think he would be that upset either way. I was just curious to your thoughts, because I know a lot of people online were speculating. Steve Yzerman, longtime coach. He's probably very respect the veterans, hockey culture, and whatnot.
Yeah. I think that was just
one other thing I'm just going to throw at you while we're talking about it. If he did get signed by Toronto, do you think Nylander gives up 88?
No.
I don't think he would either. It's interesting.
And it's not even to be like, oh, Nylander's a tool or anything like that, but it's just the fact of like,
he's a lot more set in the number 88 in Toronto than Sprong is with
And you know
Detroit.
what the funny thing is I believe this. If Nylander, or if Kane went to Toronto, Nylander gave up his 88, I think that's almost definitive that Nylander wouldn't be sticking around there. Like, if he's given up his 88 that he's had for the last couple years, especially in the midst of a career year for him, to switch your jersey, like, even if Kane was there for one season, why would Nylander give it to him just to then be like, hey, now I'm going to go back to 88 once he's gone? It's like, no, if he was giving up that number, he was giving it up. But I don't think he would have given it up. I think a lot of players are superstitious, and it's like, with the season Nylander's having, you can't change your jersey number when you're on this roll that he's on.
He straight up looks better than Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner. Like, yeah, he's having an electric season so far.
Speaking of Mitch Marner, so obviously tonight Toronto beat the Kraken 4-3 in a shootout. Mitch Marner having all 3 Toronto goals in regulation, and then scoring the final shootout goal. I just want to know, like hell of a game by him. Like, that's incredible. Like, he single-handedly got Toronto the win with their goals.
He single-handedly won a 4-3 game.
Yeah, but he was so close to costing them the game in overtime, because he wanted that 4th goal and flew the zone early and left his guy right in the slot, basically coming in towards the net.
Yeah.
And then Seattle almost scored in overtime. I was like, man, like, that whole game could have switched, because then the narrative would have been Leafs lose and Marner would have, I mean, when
Leafs
Toronto loses,
star player selfish.
Yeah, it's like when Toronto loses, it always seems like there's a player that gets blamed the most.
Oh yeah,
like, it's never like, oh, the team just wasn't there. It's always like, yeah, there's a fall guy, exactly. And so it could have very quickly been Marner was the fall guy there, and it wasn't, oh, look at the hat trick. It's like, look at him like you said, being selfish and costing the game. So,
which is funny, because historically, he's a huge passing guy. He's one of the least selfish players in the league, but
Yeah.
that's Toronto hockey for you, absolutely.
Yeah. Have you heard of what's going on in Columbus right now?
I have not
Okay.
to my knowledge.
Sweet. So we can dive into this a little bit then. So they got two things going on there regarding both or two of their numerous Russian players that they have. So the
Right.
first one, Dmitry Voronikov, 23 years old, former fourth round pick in 2019. This is his first season with the Blue Jackets right now. He's got 11 points in 18 games so far, 4
Pretty
goals, 7
good.
assists. So doing pretty good. So he came over to training camp late, and he barely speaks any English. And so, I mean, they've obviously got a lot of Russian players there that are able to help him a little bit with it and whatnot, but it sounds like he is struggling. And so he didn't come out, but it was like reported and it was true. So he's been feeling homesick. And again, it's just, he's coming by himself all the way to North America from Russia for the first time, barely speaks English. So he was getting a little homesick and was debating on leaving the team and just going back home to Russia, which would have been a huge loss for the Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
So he has, and I believe it was like the very next game after the news came out, he ended up scoring. And now
Good for him.
I don't know exactly what happened, but he has decided he's now going to stick with the team. I don't know if it's indefinitely or if he's just like, you know what, I'll just tough it out. Like Columbus ain't making the playoffs, so he doesn't even have to worry about extra time for sticking around in the playoffs. But so he's decided he's at least staying for the remainder of this season. We'll see what happens. So that's huge for Columbus to have him choose to stick around. But someone doesn't want to stick around.
Who's that?
Yegor. So their other Russian forward, Yegor Chinnikov. I don't think he's officially like requested a trade, but it's kind of sounding like he's like, I want out. He's unhappy with the Blue Jackets just because he's not really getting much ice time. Like he's playing fourth line for them some nights. He's got 5 points in 13 games. He's 22 years old, like former first round pick. He's still a good young player.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't feel like they're giving him a chance or anything. Like he's just not happy with how he's being used. And you know what? Fair enough. If you're a first round pick, I don't think you should be coming and being like, yeah, he play a depth minutes for us, be a depth guy, be a role guy down there. Like,
yeah.
And this was the guy that they took quite early because I think he was supposed to be like a mid-second rounder or something, or even a late second round. Like he wasn't in a projected first-round player, and they took him way early because they saw something in him. And it's like, what'd you see? You saw a depth forward in the first round. It's like, yeah, let's go get him. Like, no, this is a good young player that should be getting the opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, that's really interesting that, there's a lot more young guys than there used to be who are asking for trades out of different places. And
yeah,
it's interesting. Do you know what his contract looks like?
Well, he's I believe he's still got this year and the following year on his rookie deal. I'll just quickly pull it up here just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure. Okay, so he's only got 1 year left. This is the last year of his rookie deal. But again, he's an RFA, so they control his rights, or if they trade him somewhere, that team has his rights. So, but like that's tough if you've got arguably their best prospect wanting, or one of them wanting out this early. It's not a good look for them, especially with all the other struggles that their superstars are having. Like, why not demote? Yeah, I mean, I know they bench lining Gaudreau, but why not demote one of them to the third line or second line for a game or two and let Chinnikov try it out on the top line? And
so I don't
See
know
if that
how
sparks. So.
familiar you are with Columbus's lines. I definitely wasn't. I just pulled it up here on Daily Faceoff. But I'm seeing an obvious spot where he moves up. It's unless this dude is great and haven't been seeing it.
Who the fuck is Justin Danforth?
That exactly. Just Igor Chinnikov is the third line left winger. First line left winger Johnny Gaudreau. If you don't want to move him down, I get it. You're paying a lot of money for him. It makes sense. Justin Danforth? Who the hell is that? Like, if he's earning his spot, fair enough. But if it means losing Chinnikov, dude, move him down to the third line and give Chinnikov a couple extra minutes. Now he's playing. Now instead of Voronikov and Marchenko, which admittedly Kirill Marchenko is pretty good.
Yeah.
But instead of that, he could be playing with Adam Fantilli and Patrick Laine.
Or even you could move Justin Danforth to the third line. You could even they got Kent Johnson up there now. They just brought him up today. Kent Johnson could even slide in on the second line, and Chinnikov could easily slot in on the first. Columbus is they're in such a weird spot. They're in such a weird spot right now. They're the definition of mid, and it's like you're not going to be getting one of those top draft picks probably with this roster now. Like I think last year was a bit of a different story with them, but you're also not going to be a playoff team. So it's like, I feel for him. Like it's tough there.
Absolutely. And hopefully Chinnikov isn't being unreasonable or anything. Hopefully, Columbus can find a way to give him what he wants, a little bit more ice time and such, and they can make it work. Because that would really suck to lose a guy before he's really even progressed his game too much and gotten near his potential. Because we all know he can be great.
And as far as I know, it doesn't sound like he's requested a trade, but he has let it be known to the management, I'm not happy right now with how I'm being used. Can we try it? It sounds like he's more on the mindset of, can we try and find an alternative? Can we try to make this work? Rather than him just letting it boil up to the point where he's like, all right, I'm done. I'm fed up. At least he's being like, hey, let's try and figure this out together and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know what? I mean, if you're a young, Russian player like that, and you look around and see a lot of the other Russian talent that they're bringing in, it's like that's kind of cool though, that you got a lot of guys that you can speak Russian with, talk about being back home with, you have that kind of bond type of thing, especially when you're coming all the way over to North America. That's got to be pretty cool for him to have those guys who are the same age as him and whatnot that he can really bond with and share that.
Actually relate to those guys.
Exactly. Way. Yeah. But anyways, enough about Columbus. They got their airtime there. It wasn't good, but they did get it.
Yeah. I have another thing here. All right. I guess before I get into that, I should quickly throw in. Don't love talking about him, but we're just going to mix them in randomly as we go. But earlier this week, Sam Girard entered the player assistance program, stating he has severe anxiety, depression, and has abused alcohol as a result of those things. Not much to say, nothing talkie related. The player went in and sounds like he's getting the help he needs, and hopefully it comes out the other side better for it. So
just wishing for nothing but the best for him, for sure.
Absolutely. Great player. But something that I have, Brundi, what is the most somewhat recent bittersweet moment related to hockey that you have had?
Bittersweet.
Does anything immediately come to your head?
There's nothing.
Did an ex-Shark score a hat trick on them or something like that? Something that was like you were pissed off.
I would say probably wasn't really bittersweet for me, but I would say a bittersweet moment would probably be when the most recent one that I can think of just off the top of my head is Florida beating Carolina last year in the playoffs to go to the Cup final. I think just because that's bittersweet because like Eric Stahl and Mark Stahl got to advance, but it came at the cost of knocking Jordan Stahl out of the playoffs. That's kind of really one of the only ones I can think of off the top of my head that would be classified as kind of a bittersweet moment.
Yeah. And I do mean more for you, not like just league wide, you know.
Me. Is there one you're thinking of that I can't think of?
No. I'm just asking for you because I had a big one a few short hours ago. So we are currently recording this on.
I know what you're talking about. Yes, that was the next thing I had. Yes. Okay.
On the 30th of November, tonight was Tampa Bay versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. And at the end of the game, we pulled the goalie to try and tie it up. It was 3-2. And Tristan Jarry yeeted the puck down for an empty net.
Yeah.
And of course, not only is it annoying to lose the game, but as a Tampa fan, I know that clip is going to be all over the place for a while.
Yeah.
But last year, and this is not a plug, I'm not even going to say the app's name because it's not a plug, but I did a sports bet on something called a pinata bet. It came out right after Ullmark scored his goal, and it was who is going to be the next goalie to score a goal in the NHL. And you put your money in, and everyone gets the same odds. It's like I think it was like 95-1. So every dollar you get $95. If
it just gives you a random player.
And it gives you a random goalie. You don't get to pick. And I wanted to put $5 down, and then I was like, actually, I'm going to make 5 $1 bets. And one of those bets spit out Jarry. So.
Oh, did it?
So I made a nice $95.
Yeah, I made 450 on one of those a couple years ago. It was basically, so I was using, I'm not gonna say what they are, but it was a sports book that I started using. It was garbage, and I had like $8 or $9 left in. I was like, I'm switching to a different one. I'm done with this one. So I'm like, fuck, what can I just throw it all on? And then I didn't know you could do this, but I saw that there was a WWE tab. And I was like, holy shit, I can bet on wrestling. This is sick. So I went into it. And all it was again, that pinata thing. And it was who's going to win the Royal Rumble this year. So I just threw it all on that. Very first person it gave me was Cody Rhodes. And I was like, holy shit, like, that's who I honestly thought was going to win. And then he ended up
a good pull. Are you kidding?
Right. And then he ended up going on to win. So that was, those are so fun though. When you do that, it just gives you a random pick. I love those
the Royal Rumble is such a perfect thing to have that for as well, because your bet is random. The freaking entrants are random. Like, obviously, you know, they pick who wins, but like,
but that's like the one where
random.
And that's like the one where they don't leak anything. Like, everyone's got speculations of like who's, you know, on a hot streak going in, who makes the most sense to him. But like nobody aside from those within who have to keep it a secret, like nobody knows who's going to win. So that's one of those things that they can actually get away with. Like, you can't just bet on, you know, who's going to win at WrestleMania or something, because like, sometimes things like that will get leaked or whatnot and all that. But it's just like with the Royal Rumble, you never know. And so that was really fun to actually watch that and be like, holy shit, like watching wrestling when you can win a lot of money is cool.
Yeah.
But no props to Tristan Jarry. Like, anytime there's a goalie goal, like that's, I mean, it sucks when it's at the expense of your team, but
it sucked, but like at least there was a silver lining, because I was like, this is just going to be on all the sports centers for the next while. You know, everyone's going to be seeing it. So
honestly, just be thankful that Tampa Bay didn't go and score right after, because that would have been even tougher to look at it and be like, damn, Tristan Jarry got the game-winning goal. Because we've seen that lots where a team will score an empty net goal and then the other team will come back and score with like 5 seconds left or something. Yeah. So at least you know that Tristan Jarry didn't get the GWG on the bolts in the end.
Yeah, for sure. That
because that would have really rubbed salt in the wound there.
Yeah. A lot of goalie goals in the last few years.
It's starting to increase, and not only in
Like, it used to be once every 10
NHL,
years, but now it's like once every 2, once a
and when
year.
we're seeing more and more guys, like last year we saw one in. Well, no, I guess that was just earlier this year. We saw Nedeljkovic get one in the AHL. There was a couple. I think there was 2 in the WHL last year, or maybe it was just the CHL as a whole. But like, it's like goalies are starting to goalies practice that now. Even
Yeah.
like they practice getting the puck behind the net, quickly turning and firing it, because your goalies are starting to get that opportunity more and more. So I think we honestly might start to see like. Maybe I feel like every year is probably a stretch, but I feel like we're in an age now where it's not going to be like before, where you go 4 or 5 years in between a goalie goal, or maybe even more.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I think we're like at least every 2 to 3 years, we're at least going to get one in the NHL. Like other leagues, it could even happen more. You never know.
Yeah. Like, and it's funny that you actually mentioned that, because I kind of forgot, because Nedeljkovic was one of the other 4 picks. Like I said, I did 5 $1 ones. He was the other one. So,
in the NHL.
yeah. So when he scored the AHL, I was kind of like, what the hell, man? Like, I feel robbed. So it's kind of funny that I ended up hitting it anyway. But absolutely, like, I feel like it's going to be a bit before we go 2 or 3 years in between goalie goals at this point. Like, the goalies see it happening more, so they practice it more. The goalies want it more. The players want the goalies to get it. At this rate, if it keeps happening, they're going to have to start giving out fantasy points for those.
Yeah, like that's something that bugs me, is the fact that that's not a thing. It's like, you know what? I think, like, obviously you don't need to have a whole tab there for like, goalie goals and assists, but I think you should be getting those bonus points if a goalie does. Like,
it's not going to break a league to put 1 goal beside a goalie.
Like, I agree. I had something. Oh, because I know you would like this one.
All right. Lay it on me.
I'm going to paint a picture for you, and I just want you to say the first player that comes to mind.
All right.
A player, and I'll give you it's in the Atlantic Division.
Okay.
A player who is currently on their team, and management made it clear they wanted to trade him away because of his contract, and fans made it very well known that they wanted him gone because of his contract. So they could sign someone else.
Immediately, I'm thinking it's. Did you say in the Atlantic?
In the Atlantic.
Oh, I was thinking Goodrow with the Rangers. If people are making a stink about it, there's a good chance it's the Leafs. Are we thinking like Tavares, Ryan Reeves?
No. Former Tampa Bay Lightning, Matthew Joseph.
That's right.
So all offseason we heard of like, they wanted to trade him. Fans wanted him gone. They're like, his contract's abysmal. Yeah. He's the reason we're not getting Shane Pinto. Yeah. Which, funny thing, Shane Pinto got suspended in a league where the commissioner's name is literally Batman, by the way. But Matthew Joseph, 15 points in 17 games. Same amount of points as Brady Tkachuk. More points than Tarasenko, Batherson. Like, this is a guy that they tried to completely run out of Ottawa, and he's looking like a steal on that contract.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, I just want to give a little credit to Joseph
great this year so far.
Like, everything was against him in Ottawa. Like, obviously not his teammates, but management, the fans, the media. And you know what? He said, watch me go out there and ball. I mean, the team still sucks right now. They're 8-9, bottom of the Atlantic.
Certainly ain't his fault,
but he's balling out. And if he keeps doing this all season long, Ottawa, he might go down as a favorite in Ottawa, because they might end up being able to get a first-round pick for him. You retain half his salary, a team would gladly take a guy on this pace if he maintains it for like it'd be like $1.5 million half retained.
Yeah,
Like that's a steal for teams if they want a guy like that at the deadline.
and you know who might be able to use a little extra forward depth if they're looking like close to the playoffs? The Penguins, who have his brother,
Yeah.
Pierre Oliver Joseph.
Speaking
So
of the Penguins, what's going on with them? Like they're 11-10-1.
it's weird. Everyone thought their power play would be nuts this year with the addition of Carlson. Now you got Malkin, Letang, Gensel, Crosby, and Carlson. And it sounds like their power play is just awful. Like, I've seen so many Penguins fans being like, they should add a rule where you can turn down penalties. Like, it sounds like their 5-on-5 is great, but their power play is just they're just never scoring. So they're just always losing the special teams battles.
Yeah, their power play is 26 in the league, 21.1%. So
21% is 20. What did you say? 26th in the league?
yeah. So they're one of the worst.
And scoring is up. That
it's also like
in the past that wouldn't be a bad percentage even.
Also, what's just so mind blowing to me is the fact like they're 11-10-1, 7th in the Metro. Sidney Crosby is 36 years old, and we're at like the quarter way mark through the season. He's on pace to have his best goal scoring season of his career at 36 years old. And the Penguins are still this bad right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I mean, I'm not opposed to seeing Crosby and Malkin get a fourth, Carlson finally getting one, but it's like they got to start finding a way to get things going, like especially that power play. Like even if you got to split up and roll with a Crosby, Malkin, Rust, and Carlson and X on the first, and then you try Gensel and Letang trying to bolster that second one or something.
Yeah.
Like they got to try and find, because that's a big part of that team if they want success. Like they have the chance to have a really good power play.
Yeah.
And it's just not working.
And we've seen that work in the past. That's exactly what Tampa did last year. Our first 7-8 games, our power play was horrible, uncharacteristically so. And we moved Hedman to the second power play, moved Sergachev up, and it got the first line clicking. Hedman started making some magic on the second line. Like, sometimes you just got to move some stuff around, especially with a new guy coming in like that. You know, you gotta change things around, make it work, because they have too much talent for it to be a bottom of the league power play for that long.
Yeah, I will say though, where they're at right now, like I don't hate it, because they're currently sitting right at that bridge mark where it's not a top 10 pick. It's just outside, like they'd be around the 11th or 12th pick, which means that San Jose, because they're the first round pick they sent to San Jose in the Carlson trade is only top 10 protected. So if they finish right in that spot, I'd be fine if the Sharks got the 11th or 12th overall.
11 or 12. Yeah, absolutely.
So you know what? And they got Carlson for a couple more years. Crosby's not going anywhere. If they suck this year, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm not losing sleep over it.
But
if they go on and Carlson wins a cup,
bring myself to hate Crosby, man. He's so good and he's such a class act. Like he absolutely sniped one top shelf on a breakaway in the game tonight, and like I couldn't even be mad. I'm just like, what can you say? Sid the Kid just walks in and rips it from the top of the circle. Like, still got it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, like, so many kids nowadays, it's like, I see all these interviews of these guys who try to be like influencers, and they go to like minor hockey tournaments and interview these players and whatnot. And they always ask like, who's your favorite player? And the kid's wearing a Maple Leafs hat, and he's like, oh, either McDavid or Matthews. And McDavid was always such a popular pick. It's like Sidney Crosby was our McDavid.
Yeah,
like when we were growing up and kids, and watch out, like Crosby was coming into the league, and that was the guy. Like he scored one of the biggest goals ever for Canada in the Olympics. Like he was
golden goal.
Like he was just the man. Like it's
funny that you mentioned that for our generation, because I'm not sure who's done them, if it was Sports Center or just the NHL channel, but I know on YouTube there's a good collection of videos where they just like do these like 3-minute videos where they interview and ask the same question to a bunch of NHL players. And I know
Oh
in the
yeah.
past I've seen one where it's who was your favorite player growing up, and for about a minute of the 3-minute video at the start, it's these guys. One guy says, Sergei Fedorov, and one guy says this guy, and they say another guy, and then it's just an absolute avalanche of everyone in the league saying Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Like almost everyone was saying like it's Crosby. Crosby was the best. Like
Yeah. He was just the guy
He
people
probably
looked up to.
inspired at least 50% of the NHL players playing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I want to throw in that I kind of like doing. I like talking about some of the warriors in hockey. Some of the guys who you just see them there and you're like, damn, they're fucking tough. So the San Jose Sharks played the Washington Capitals on Monday, beat them 2-1. You and I kind of talked about that, how they were missing kind of their big three forwards. Like they've obviously been without Couture and Barabanov for a bit now, but Thomas Hertl, who's been really the only guy producing at a consistent level this season, he did not play. It was reported he had a kidney stone and had to go and get surgery for it on Monday.
Ugh.
He suited up for today's game against the Boston Bruins in Boston. Obviously, the Sharks got shut out. Hertl played 22 minutes and 8 seconds.
As a
like
forward.
two days, first line center, 2 days after having surgery for a kidney stone.
Good God, man.
And not only that, it's not like you're, a team battling for a playoff spot or one of the best teams. Like he's on a shit team going up against the big bad Boston Bruins. He could have easily just sat out and been like, you know what, I'm not feeling it. No point rushing back in to go up against the Bruins. Not only did he come in and play first line center 22 minutes, like that's just insane to me that a human, not just a player and athlete, just a human in general is able to do that. Like that's just incredible.
It really is, and I was surprised that it was something like that because when you said we're going to talk about an absolute warrior, I definitely thought we were going to talk about Chris Tanev and his shot block.
Yeah, his Doug Glatt moment. Yeah, we should talk about that.
I've seen some people saying he fell over and it was an accident. It was no accident. He dove head first, face first in front of a shot to block it on purpose.
And took it right in the mouth.
He wanted it in the mouth. He wanted to get hit by it. He wanted to block it. Like
You'll clip that. He wanted it in the mouth.
He did. He's a madman, dude. Who does that? Like,
and not only that, he just got up and just went off to the bench and went down the tunnel. Like
he got up like he got hip checked. Like he got up right away. Like,
and then also might as well throw it in there. He suited up tonight for the Calgary Flames and scored their first goal for him, his first goal of the season. So, like, there you go, another just absolute warrior. Yeah, as soon as I saw that block, though, I was like, that was just like in Goon, where Dougie Boy just drops to his knees and just takes it right in the face. Just no situational awareness.
You wanted that one to be clipped.
What?
Drops to his knees and takes it in the face. That one's even worse.
I didn't even think of it like that. But yeah, okay. Yeah, you can clip that one too.
Sure.
You can clip that one too. No, yeah, but like that was, I just couldn't believe that. I'm like, I can't even believe. And it was like it wasn't even like a muffin thrown on net or like it was a hard shot too.
It was a hard snapshot.
Ew, I can't even imagine how that would have felt. Ooh.
Yeah.
Tough guy.
Yeah.
That made his trade value fucking rise. Let me tell you though.
You're telling me that night I was all over Cap Friendly. I was trying to make a 3-way trade to get him on Tampa involving a third team to retain salary to see if it would be possible for us to get him.
That's where San Jose is going to thrive.
Yeah, that's the team I was using. I was using a bunch of picks and moving people out, trying to get.
Never mind. Sharks won't be, because I'm thinking about, because
they need those retain slots, don't they?
Well, they're already they've already got 2 locked up for the next couple years in the Burns and Carlson trades, and then I'm assuming that their third one's probably going to be used, like if they move Duclair or Hoffman or someone else, probably one of their guys rather than unless they can find a team
with a year left, so that next year they can do it again with the people who are currently on a 2-year deal.
Yeah, unless like they find a way to offload guys like Duclair and Hoffman without doing so, then they could. But I think Hoffman's probably the guy that it gets used on, just because his cap, like I think his cap hits like 4.5 or something, which for a playoff, a cup contender, teams don't have 4.5. It's just wide open to
not by the
bring
deadline.
A guy. And Hoffman's on a Stanley Cup contender. Hoffman's not worth 4.5. Now at 2.25, I think it is very reasonable.
Yeah, that'd be a great guy to shove in there on the depth. He's also got a good amount of playoff experience, right? Was he on the part? He wasn't on the Penguins, was he, when they made their cup runs?
No, he was on. No, but he was a beast in the playoffs. Their Penguins' second cup win, or no, was it their first? No, their second. One of the two. When he was with Ottawa and they lost to Pittsburgh. When him and Carlson were just nuts in the playoffs that year.
Yeah. When Carlson almost won the Conn Smythe, even though he didn't even make it to the finals.
Also, it's funny. Mike Hoffman has only 6 goals on the season. He went the first while without getting like any points. He's got 6 goals on the season. 4 of them have been against former teams of his. It was funny. San Jose was on a homestand, and it was like Florida came in, former team Hoff was on, then Montreal came in, then St. Louis, and it's like, damn, he's just chilling at home in San Jose while all his former teams just come rolling through. And he scored against all of them. Scored against Florida, Montreal, and St. Louis. So,
yeah, I always take the over on guys who are playing their former teams. Like they just want it. Like every single time Tampa Bay is playing against a team that has like a ex Tampa player, I always at least take the over on shots, because they want to score against their old team. You want to show them, this is what you're missing, right?
Yeah.
Even if they didn't want to lose you, like, yeah, guys go extra hard when they're playing against their old teams.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk quickly about the Senators-Panthers?
Ooh, yeah.
I just thought of that, and you know what? That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a wild game.
Yeah. So the game was either 3-0 or 4-0 at the time, but basically all 5 guys on both sides were just, something happened. I think Brady Tkachuk went for a rebound on the goalie. The Panthers took exception, and everyone was shoving, and they were giving it to each other pretty good. There were definitely some sucker punches, especially by the Panthers, thrown in there. And every guy was giving him the business. And, Brady Tkachuk started it, so of course they pan over, and Matthew Tkachuk's just sitting there watching from the penalty box, because of course he's already got a penalty, right?
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, the ref goes over, addresses the crowd, and says, all 10 guys on the ice, 10-minute misconduct. They're all gone. I think there was about 7 or 8 minutes left in the game, which just meant all 10 guys on the ice, get out of here.
Yeah.
And it was funny. It was just such a good delivery of the call, too. The way the ref was just like, all the guys, all of them 10-minute misconducts. Like, he was just like, we're done.
Yeah, it was funny. I saw a lot of people on Twitter being like, the Tkachuk brothers just need to drop the gloves and fight each other. It's like, they're never going to do that. Like, you're never going to see 2 brothers drop the gloves and just feed each other the business. Like, and they've even said that before, that they're not going to do that. Like, if Tkachuk's being a tool, like either one,
They'll cheap shot
someone
each
else
other
on the
before
other
they'll get
team.
into a fist fight.
Yeah, like it'll be
Easily.
like Brady will go on the bench and be like, "Hey, Hamannik, go out there and teach him a lesson," or Matthew will be like, "Hey, Bennett." Like you're just not going to see two brothers just go out there and feed each other. Like it's not going to happen. Like, but yeah, like they're
I would say
strangers
that
to
with an
cheap shots or
exception.
anything, though.
I would say that if the two teams played in a multi-game series in the playoffs, I could see it happening. But
I think even that, like
until
that's
the
a bit of a
playoffs happen,
stretch,
I think
but
it wouldn't happen. And
yeah.
even then, it's a might happen if they have that playoff series, but I don't think
And
they're going to do it for a regular season game in November.
Yeah. And even if it's a fight, it's going to be like a battle in front of the net, and they're just the first two, like they're the first guys they grab or something. Like it's not going to be a off the face off. They're chatting like, "Hey, let's go." Like it would be a complete heat of the moment and type of thing. But yeah, no, that was like that game reminded me of that Pittsburgh Islanders game back in the day.
Yeah,
that game was also a crazy one.
yeah, that was the one that had that's like top 10 all times for penalty minutes in a game, right? Like it's like up there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that one had a lot of penalty minutes. I can't even remember the numbers, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have anything else?
I just
No.
have one more thing. I'm not a fan of this guy, but I got to give credit where credit's due. Tom Wilson celebrates his 700th NHL game tonight in Anaheim. And in doing so, he scored his first career hat trick, which is pretty wild to think it took him 700 games to do that. But congrats to Tom Wilson. I'd say that's very, very long overdue for him. But what a way to celebrate.
I think hat tricks are a bit less common than some people think, just because, it's hard to score 3 goals. But when you're on a line with the guy who's known for scoring goals, it's probably hard to keep 3 to yourself in a single game. So
I think it's just more so that he's always been on a good Washington team, former first round pick, like good player.
Yeah.
You just didn't think it would take him 700 games to get one.
Yeah, for sure.
Like hell, the guy taken, I think right after him, Hurdle got a hat trick in his, like, not only hat trick 4-goal game in like his 7th game or something, his 8th game, like pretty early into his career. So also between the legs for that 4th goal.
Oh, that was so good.
Yeah,
so juicy.
That's crazy to think that was over. What was that, 9 years ago? 10.
Oh,
it was in 2013.
Don't make me feel too old.
2013 season. 10 years, damn. Time flies when you're having fun in San Jose, huh? Not anymore, but back in the day they were having
fun. Oh shit. I do have one final thing. If you want to vamp for 2 seconds and let me bring it up.
Yeah, what can I vamp about?
Minnesota Wild, what are they doing? I'm just
Minnesota Wild Minnesota fired their coach. Duh. Good call.
I've done it. I've unlocked a secret topic.
Dean Evison got fired. I think he just got screwed. I mean, no one can classify Minnesota as a contender when they've got $15 million in dead cap space for this year and next year. Not only that, they brought in John Hines, who's never really achieved much as an NHL coach. Like he's just one of those guys. Like it would make sense if it was like, okay, we're firing Dean Evison, but we're going out and getting this younger coach, this new coach, and someone to bring a new breath of fresh air to this team or something like that. But to bring in a veteran coach that's just bounced from team to team, like that's doing nothing. So I think that's just another L move for Minnesota on what already has been a tough season. Like, I think it would have been awesome if you sign a NCAA coach or a young coach trying to make it in the league, working his way up through the AHL or ECHL. But to go and just grab a guy that's been fired from numerous teams before, it's like, what are you hoping to achieve here?
Yeah.
That's a tough one for, and it sounds like I don't remember the. Let me find it actually, because when I heard about it, I was like, damn. Yeah, you could tell that Dean, like who's uh Bill Guerin's their GM.
Yes.
So Dean Evison had a sit down talking about his firing and what went down. So this is how it went. So Dean Evison um was in the office and he just straight up said to Bill Guerin, he said, "Are you firing me, bud?" And he called him Bud. Bill Guerin was just like, "Yeah." And then Evison said, "We immediately hugged and he just started to cry and so did I." So like that shows you it's nothing personal. Like they were boys there. They were close. And
Yeah.
I don't think it was Bill Guerin's decision to fire him.
Doesn't sound like it.
Because I mean Bill Guerin's the reason Evison was put in such a fucking tough spot to begin with. So that, I mean, that's, again, that just shows that like these guys got good relationships, and some like those moves are tough. I don't, neither one of them are happy about it, but it's a shitty business move for the Wild. But
yeah, and I think a lot of people always look at it and they always think, it's business, and it definitely is, and that's why it happens. But a lot of these guys have been together for a long time doing this stuff, and they become really close. And just because they have to do it doesn't mean that they're not upset about it. It doesn't piss them off,
It's the exact reason why David Quinn hasn't been fired in San Jose. Him and Mike Greer are really close. They're good buddies. Like, I don't care. Like, you can say, oh, San Jose's a rebuilding team. When you've got fucking Jacob McDonald, a defenseman, playing second, third line forward, getting power play time, like, there's no excuse for that. We've got guys like LeBanc being a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
You can throw a defenseman on forward on your third line. Like, you've got Luke Cunnin, who's second on the team in goals, I think. He might even be tied for first now. Goes from the top six down to the fourth line, so Jacob McDonald can be a third line winger. It's like, when I tell you I was fuming when I saw the Sharks line tonight, like, I was fuming. Like, that's abysmal. Like, I don't care, they're a rebuilding team. When that starts happening, it's like, that's just brutal. But anyways, did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, I got it. I'm just gonna run through some of the league leaders again, real quick. We got a couple move arounds. I'll just read out the top 3 for some of the main categories. For goals, we got 17 goals in the lead of the league, Brock Besser, and in second and third,
out of Vancouver last season.
Yeah,
and now look at him,
17 goals in 24 games, having quite a year.
And you just know, like, I'll let you go on, but you just know if he hits the open market and free agency, like, a team's gonna overpay for him.
Oh yeah, cash.
A team's gonna overpay hard
for a goal scorer like that, 26 years old. Like, those don't come around that often.
But the thing is he's never been like this before. He's on a contract year.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's gonna get a big hefty paycheck, and I don't think you're gonna see another season like this from Besser.
Guys, a lot of guys very often play up on their contract years. That's just how it goes.
Look at Nylander.
Yeah.
Look at Sam Reinhart on Florida. He's
Well, we'll get to him in about 2 to 3 seconds, because in second and third in goals, Nikita Kucherov and Sam Reinhart, both with 15. League lead in assists, we got Cale Makar with 27, Quinn Hughes in second with 25, and Nikita Kucherov with 24.
2 defensemen leading the league in assists.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool to see, though.
It's wild.
Can we just enjoy this moment right now where we're talking about the leaders in goals, assists, points, and we're not talking about McDavid and Draisaitl? Can we just appreciate how cool this is?
Enjoy the hell out of it, because last week when we did this, Connor McDavid wasn't even on this top list of 25, I don't think. Guess what? He's up at 12 already, and he's only getting hotter.
Yeah.
He's picked it up recently, and it's not going to be long before we're talking about him again.
Yeah, it's not like we're shitting on McDavid or Draisaitl. It's just nice that other players get this opportunity to have the limelight a little bit more and be up at the top, because
it's fun to talk about who do you
happened.
think's going to win an award without going, if McDavid didn't win it, who would win the Hart?
Yeah.
It's fun talking about who might actually win the Hart. So
exactly, right?
But first in points with 39, Nikita Kucherov. And then in second, we got 36 from JT Miller. And in third, 34 from Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Makar's only getting hotter and hotter. Like it's
anybody's race, man. It's anybody's race this year. I'm never gonna count out guys like Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid.
No, I'm just talking about for the Norris.
Oh yeah, I'm just talking about like the Hart and the Lindsay. For that, I'm not counting those guys out. But like JT Miller's got 36 points in 24 games. Makar has gone nuclear recently. Hughes is doing incredible. Kucherov's got 39 points in 23 games. There's a lot of guys that are doing insane things. Pasternak's got 33 points in 22 games, and like who's he playing with? Pavel Zacha?
Yeah, like he just lost Bergeron. He's still doing this.
Yeah, so it's it definitely looks like the trend of goal scoring going up is going higher, because
and we haven't even
a lot of guys not only above a point per game, but like well over a point per game. Yeah. Jack Hughes has only played 16
I was just going to say, we're not talking about
points.
Jack Hughes, but it's just because he's been injured the last little bit, so he's kind of fallen down the rankings, but he's still a guy who the point per game pace he's on before he could easily be back up in first in a week or two. Like,
yeah, you know what? Let's do a little exercise real quick here. So 8 goals, 21 assists, 29 points. There's 3 players with that stat line. One has 22 games, one has 20, one has 16. The one with 22 games is Nathan MacKinnon. The one with 20, a little better than Nathan MacKinnon, is Connor McDavid. Jack Hughes has 16 and has that stat line.
Yeah.
Like he is literally playing better than Connor McDavid by a margin of 4 games this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's so funny that those 3 guys, those are like top centers in the league, all have the exact same goals, assists, points.
Yeah.
And just because I feel like it, who's leading the league in penalty minutes? Liam O'Brien, you fucking goon. 64 penalty minutes. A +3, might I add.
You know what? Coyotes have been sneakily good this season to start off.
Yeah.
Imagine though. I know it's probably not gonna happen, but like, could you imagine Arizona in the playoffs in Mullet Arena and just seeing that place rocking for the playoffs? Because that'll be like the first time Coyotes have been in the playoffs, like the real playoffs, in like a long time, where they can actually play in their own barn and have their own fans. And like in Mullet Arena, like you could have a pretty electric atmosphere there actually for the playoffs. Like it wouldn't be a big atmosphere, but those 5,000 people could make it feel like 15,000. I feel.
Yeah,
I'm confident.
They might be able to do something kind of like in Nassau Coliseum with the Islanders, where like the small building really gets loud. It could be a really good time. Just because I sorted by penalties and saw this, what 2 players do you think there are in the league that both have played 22 games, scored 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points? There's way more goals than I would have thought for either of those 2.
I don't even know. I know Pat Maroon scored tonight, so he's above that now. I don't even know.
They are tied in everything, even age, except for penalty minutes. One has 3 more.
What's the age?
Both at 33 years old. One's on Anaheim, one's on Winnipeg.
Jacob Silverberg.
One is an ex-Lightning, one is an ex-Shark.
Yo, okay, so it's fucking Brendan Dillon because he's been
Yep.
just sniping it from the blue line. And then it's fucking Radko Gudas.
Yep.
Because I remember, because,
Those
yeah.
plugs have 4 goals.
Yeah. Dude, Brendan Dillon's actually been
Plus 8 and
such
plus
a
7.
huge part for Winnipeg this
They're
season.
doing great.
That's crazy, actually.
That was funny. I just like looked and like we used to talk about those were our resident goons on both our team at one point.
Well, and like it wasn't even necessarily goons. It was just more so. I mean, we called them goons because we didn't know any better at the time.
And it's
but it
also
was just like
funny.
they were just good, shut down, stayed home defensemen who wasn't afraid. Like they wouldn't. I mean, Gudas more so than Dylan would maybe go out there and look for a fight sometimes. But if they had to drop the gloves, they would. They had no problem throwing the body on. Like they were just big, hard, physical, defensive defensemen. It's kind of cool to see them actually producing a little bit offensively for their teams, and both teams that have gotten off to a better start than people thought to start the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And
good for them.
That's just funny to look at. Like, how far into the season are we?
We're at the quarter-way mark.
22 games. So if we assume that they shoot at this rate, Brendan Dillon and Radko Gudas are both going to end the season with 16 goals.
Yeah.
Like, that'll be the day.
Yeah, honestly, like that'd be awesome because I love seeing when those defensive defensemen like get their flowers and get the recognition a bit more because those guys, I mean, like the fans on that team would notice it and give them praise, but outside of the team that they're on, people don't really pay much attention to those defensive defensemen who aren't putting up the big numbers or anything. So it's cool to see when those guys actually are, producing offensively and are getting that respect and praise that they deserve.
Yeah. I am out of things to talk about unless you got anything else.
Nope. I don't got anything. I think the well is dry.
Yeah, I think. I was going to say there's a lot going on. Things seem to be culminating to something in the NHL lately. So if stuff keeps happening at this rate, I think it's almost a guarantee that we would end up doing another podcast, doing one before next Friday.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Because I thought I heard about the other day. So there was a goalie goal in the WHL 4 days ago.
Okay.
Dawson Cowan on the Spokane Chiefs scored a goalie goal, but he did not shoot the puck. It was. I don't know if it was a delayed penalty or the end of the game. But the team they were up against was cycling around, shooting on him. He made a save, and then one of their players walks in, tries to snipe it short side, misses over top of the net, hits the glass, goes all the way around, and rolls all the way down the ice into his own net. So he didn't even shoot the puck
shot
because he was the most recent player on the Spokane Chiefs to touch the puck. He
gets the credit.
Got credited, yeah. So
that's
2 goals crazy. In 4 days.
That's crazy because I've seen a couple in the past where a guy shoots and it goes off the goalie's pad into the corner, and then they recover it, and then they pass it back, and their defenseman misses it, and it goes into their net.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've ever seen a shot miss the net, go all the way down, and somehow end up in the middle of the ice to hit the empty net.
Doesn't happen very often, if ever, really. I'm glad I found it because I was like, I was pretty sure that I had seen something from the WHL, so that's what it was.
I'm all tapped out of hockey news here.
Oh, I just found the other thing I was trying to find.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, because this was just from the other day, I want to make sure it didn't get ended tonight. It didn't. It didn't end tonight. So Carolina went 0-3 on their power play tonight against the Islanders. Oh shit, no, never mind. Sorry, Carolina. This is Washington. They used the wrong logo on here, but the caption saves it. So Carolina's just getting unnecessary hate.
Catching strays.
Shit, and I just got to make sure. Washington didn't play tonight, did they? Oh, they did. Okay, so Tom Wilson ended the drought for them tonight with 2 power play goals. But going into the game tonight against Anaheim, Washington that normally has a really good power play with Alex Ovechkin.
Yep.
The Capitals power play going before tonight hadn't scored in over an hour.
Wow.
They went there
An
before
hour
tonight.
on the power play, obviously.
Yeah, before tonight, their last power play goal came October 27th against the Minnesota Wild. So just to break it down, it was 11 straight games, 33 straight opportunities. So they're averaging 3 power plays a game, not scoring.
That's
55
brutal.
shots on net, 28 high danger chances, 61 scoring chances, 105 minutes and 15 seconds of power play time going into tonight. Like,
Man, like,
that's tough, especially when you got a guy like Ovechkin who thrives off the power play.
I was going to say, I don't even know what to say that they should have done, like, because I don't know what they did,
Yeah.
obviously. But like, what do you do? Do you pat it? It's worked for Ovechkin for years. Do you pass him the puck more, or are they wasting their time only passing it to Ovi when he's got 2 guys keyed onto him plus the goalie's expecting it? Do you have to go
Yeah.
somewhere else? So, there's a reason I'm not running a NHL power play, but good for them for breaking the drought. I guess that's
Yeah.
wild.
Tom Wilson of all people.
Yeah, and you know what? Makes a little bit of sense with Backstrom being out too. He's been a quarterback on that power play for quite a while.
Yeah. 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 So I think that kind of wraps it up. Quick shout out to Dusty Nickel for joining the Flames for a game as an emergency backup.
Yeah,
Really cool moment for him. Good Calgary
Dusty.
boy. But yeah, thank you to everybody for listening to yet another episode of the Stick 'em Up podcast. Again, if you want to join in on any conversations with us, throw us a follow, just chat with us. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter /X at SEU Hockey, 3 simple letters, and then hockey. I think we're starting to getting closer to getting a YouTube channel going. We don't have any specifics exactly out of what we're planning to do with that, but I know that is on the horizon for us. So when
we'll be
that's a
trying
thing,
to get the
we
podcast
will.
up there on
Yeah,
on the
that's the one thing
YouTube
for
eventually,
sure.
and maybe not as soon as getting it up on YouTube, but sometime in the future after that, we are hoping once we can record in person more often to get a visual component of the podcast, get a camera on us so that you can actually see the bodies, the beautiful faces behind the voice, or beautiful face, I guess.
Yeah.
But you can
Yeah,
decide
so
if it was
that's
a chirp on you or not.
that's something that we do have on the horizon. But for now, we are just on Instagram and Twitter /X. Always feel free to pop in over on there, sauce us a follow, or don't. We really don't care, but you can always talk to us on there and say hi. Ask us again any questions you have about hockey. If something cool happened with your favorite team that we maybe missed or didn't discuss, feel free to let us know, and we'll always make sure to put it in the next one and talk about it. As we want to talk about what you guys want to hear. We kind of cover just the big picture of things happen in the league, some things we find notable. We miss a lot of stuff because there's 32 teams. Every team playing 82 games. We're bound to miss stuff. But if you see something we didn't, feel free to let us know, and we'll make sure to plug that in. And other than that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next one.